Are you looking to stay connected with the boys over on Beyond the Unknown? Well, check out Nicotina.net. There you can join the community under Beyond the Unknown and be able to interact with both Daniel and myself and get access to exclusive content only available on the community at www.nicotina.net. Join the community and be a part of the Beyond the Unknown team today. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Beyond the Unknown. I'm your host, Andre, and today we have a guest that has probably the most incredible, most compelling Bigfoot encounter story that I have ever heard. The standoff that he has with the Sasquatch will literally send chills down your spine. I don't want to give away too much of the story because I want you guys to hear it and experience it for yourselves. But after hearing this episode, you're going to have a whole new opinion on the legendary creature known as Bigfoot. Guys, this is Beyond the Unknown. But yeah, man, dude, thank you for coming on here, man. I really, really appreciate it. I know we've been working on this for quite a while. And both Daniel and I were very excited to have the opportunity to talk to you and just to hear your story. For anyone who doesn't know, I mean, Mike, where does the story begin?
So it was December 16th of 2020. It was very recent. I'm an avid whitetail deer hunter, and to paint the picture, I got to kind of tell you about the seasons and stuff around here to make it kind of all lock in. Okay. So in South Mississippi, there is 2 dog seasons. And what I mean by that is there's 2 deer seasons where they actually use dogs to hunt deer. Not a fan of that. Never have been a fan of that. And that last dog season came in, and it was really good hunting weather and stuff like that. The wind was just right, but I didn't. I couldn't go to my usual spots because there's dogs all in the woods. Very dangerous. They these dog hunters, they're kind of lawless. They shoot anything. A lot of people get shot. A lot of people do. It was a normal day. And in order to get away from the dog hunters, I always had to go to a WMA. And, I was going to go to Red Creek WMA that day. Actually, that's where the name of my show comes from, Red Creek Research. It's that WMA because I grew up in that WMA. I decided not to go there. I went one county north of Stone County, Mississippi, in Perry County. It's called Leaf River Management Area. And went up there, and I had a spot that I had picked up, that I'd hunted for years up there. Leaf River is very vast. It's out in the middle of nowhere. Actually, my encounter spot, give or take, you going north, south, east, or west, you're at least 35 miles from any kind of civilization. Like when, like the nearest store or just the nearest little country home or something's 30 something miles away going any direction. So very remote area, but I knew the spot very well. My father showed me that spot, not that exact spot, but he showed me the area as we was kids. And, it was right across the street, right dead slap in the middle of Leaf River Management Area is the game warden station. And straight across from the game warden station was this, it's not there anymore, but was this huge ryegrass field. When I say huge, I'm talking about 200 yards wide and about 1,000 yards long.
Oh, that's huge.
And I used to hunt off that field when I was a kid, but as I started getting older, I hunted that field and I never would have any luck because deer in South Mississippi are very, very skittish, very smart because of the hunting pressure. Mm-hmm. Usually you don't luck up or kill anything until, that's decent until the rut season, because bucks and stuff, they get a little silly during the rut because, they're trying to breed does. And, a lot of people have luck that way. So I quit hunting on that field, and there was power lines to the west adjacent of that, probably about 50 yards through the woods. There was these power lines that ran north and south. And I started figuring these deer out. I know they're coming on this field to eat, but they're not coming out until it's pitch black dark, because these deer know that there's nobody in the woods when it's dark.
Mm-hmm.
So what I used to do is I would go down these power lines, and it was a long ways down there, guys. It's probably, I was set up on the power lines where I had a peek of the back of that field over my right shoulder, just, looking back like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I chose that spot is because I had a lot of luck, because right before it would get dark, I would catch these deer slipping across these power lines to set up to go on this field right before it gets dark. And it was the perfect spot. I killed a lot of deer that year, not that year, but throughout the years. It was just, I had my perfect pine tree. Man, I ate that thing up, man. Yeah, man, it was just a normal day. I was getting away from the dog hunters, nothing out the normal. Actually, it was a Saturday, and as I was driving in there, I noticed there was no trucks or anything. There was nobody in there hunting or anything. And I was like, oh man, this is awesome,
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, I got up my tree, and it was just a beautiful day. It was probably high 30s, it wasn't too cold, but the sun was out, there's no clouds, no nothing like that, just a pretty day.
What time of the year was this?
This was December the 16th.
Mm-hmm.
That is our winter here.
So there was snow out.
No snow.
Not yet.
If we get snow in Mississippi, that's like North Mississippi, they'll get a little bit of snow, but South Mississippi, it's like if we get like just snow that doesn't even stick on the ground, people are outside celebrating. Yeah,
that's kind of like here in California.
When we
get a little bit of snow up north, we're like, woo!
Yep.
Get the sleds.
Get the day off of work.
Yeah.
So it's just a normal day, and I always get up my tree pretty early. That time of the year, it's getting pitch black dark. I would say around 5:30 p.m. So that I was probably up my tree about 1 o'clock that day. And I used to always like to get up early. That way, I can get up there, get calmed down, let the woods calm down from me walking in and all that. Let my smell go away, and because deer they live off their nose. Deer can see, but they don't have 20/20 vision like we have. They rely off their nose. So I got up and got comfortable around 1 o'clock and stretched out a little bit, and I never get on my cell phone or anything when I'm hunting either. I'm like a statue up there. Cell phone stays up in the bag. So it was just a normal day, man. And I started noticing something weird. It was just a little too quiet. Like every time I've hunted that spot, it was just, the place was just exploding full of life, birds everywhere, squirrels everywhere, rabbits, coyotes, everything. You would see everything, pigs. And it was just weird. It was just like no action. And, it had me scratching my head. I wasn't thinking anything out of the norm. I was just maybe there's something off with the pressure. I don't know. And, so, I came to terms with it, and I waited and just nothing, man. And it was just so beautiful. The wind was perfect, hit me in the face, perfect. And probably around a little bit after 4, I want to say 4:10, 4:15, I start getting some action behind me. Something is coming in, not too far away, about 70 yards, 80 yards. Something is walking in. And just to let your audience know, about Bigfoot, before I get into this, I'm not even sure I believed in Bigfoot. It definitely was not on my radar. Mm-hmm. I do remember seeing like the PG film back in the day, the Patterson Gimlin, when I was little, and my parents always said that was fake. And it wasn't completely off my radar, but I just thought if that existed, that was a problem out in the Northwest. Right. Nothing in Mississippi. Of course not. So yeah, this thing's coming in, but it's not coming in fast. It's like it's taking its time. And the tree stand that I'm in, I can't just stand. In order to turn around and look, I would have to stand up and turn around and look. And if that's game coming in, you can't make any movement, or you're going to get busted. So this thing's just taking its time, but it's heavy, man. Whatever it is, it's breaking sticks when it's walking. And the first thing I thought, I said, this is a big pig coming in, and it just took its little time, and it starts circling off to the right, and I cannot see it. And another thing I got to tell your crowd is Mississippi is very, very, very thick. The woods is it's really nasty. Even in the wintertime, they do a lot of prescribed burns to help kind of knock it down a little bit, but it's just nothing but gallberry bushes and briars up over your head.
Mm-hmm.
So this thing's coming in, it circles off to the right, and I'm looking for this thing, and I can't even see bushes moving or anything, but I can hear it. It's coming in, and all of a sudden it stops right to my right, and not like 30 yards away, and I start hearing like this heavy breathing, like almost like labored breathing. And I'm thinking to myself, what is this? Is this something? I mean, it was like this thing was breathing hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I start thinking, is this something that got shot? And the lungs are filling up with blood. Is this thing going to die on the side of me? What is this? And it's just breathing and breathing. And I'm thinking to myself, if it got shot, I would, I'm 30 foot up in a tree. I would have heard that, from way off, a couple miles off.
Right. Yeah.
And all of a sudden it stops. Nothing. Just a whole nothing, guys. And I'm puzzled. I'm thinking, should I get down from the tree and see what that is over there? I said, I waited probably another 5 or 10 minutes, and I said, okay, well, I started facing west again. I am on the east side of the power lines, guys. I'm in the woods, probably about 20 to 30 yards off the power line in a pine tree. I've got the ryegrass field to my right, right past my shoulder. I'm watching the field and I'm watching the power lines. And I came to terms with it, man. And, I said, well, maybe that was a buck, or maybe that was a pig, and it just smelt me or something. It just slipped out and I didn't hear it. It was just that good, So it gets to be the time of the day whenever I'm being blinded by the sun. The sun is up over the trees west. It's not setting yet, but it's gonna, the next hour, it's gonna be pretty dark. I'm being blinded, I'm trying to look down the power lines like this, and just big old orange globe in my face, and I'm just fighting the sun, and it finally gets behind a tree, and all of a sudden I catch something black in my peripheral, about 150 to 160 yards down the power lines. Solid black, and it looks to be like it's on all fours. Okay. We do have black bear in Mississippi. We do not have a high abundance of them. I have caught them on trail cam before. They usually have the orange collar around their neck where the state released it. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, wow, bear. First time I ever seen a bear in Mississippi. So
and you never seen a bear at this spot?
No, not at that spot. I have caught them on trail cam, like in Red Creek and stuff, though. I have caught them on trail cam. Never seen one in real life, ever. Catch something in my peripheral. It's on all fours, about 150, 160 yards down the power line. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to look at this thing through my scope. You cannot shoot a black bear in Mississippi. You will go under the jail. It would be the same penalty as shooting a bald eagle.
Mm-hmm. That's highly illegal.
Highly illegal. Yes. So I said, well, I'm still going to look at him, through the scope, but he's to the right. So I had to go left-handed with my gun, which is unorthodox for me. I didn't want to, make too much movement and turn and go right-handed like this. I just wanted to kind of creep up and go left-handed on him. And I'm looking for this thing, and I can't find it because, the scope's going all over the place. It's left-handed. And I'm like, where is this thing? And I finally catch him. And now he is sitting down on the ground, just like a human. He just looked like a large man sitting down on the power lines, and his left hand was digging in the dirt. He's facing this. It's so creepy, man. He was facing the same way I was facing, not looking at me, facing west, sitting down. So I'm looking at this thing, and I powered my scope up. That way, I can see everything. And the first thing I noticed, guys, that stood out for me, was the hair on the back. The hair on the back wasn't like what you would think of, like the double undercoat of a dog or a bear. It was hair. It was sure enough long black hair. Nikki Sixx, Motley Crue, long hair on his back. And in between the hairs, you can see his skin. It was ashy gray. I panned up to the top of his head, and that freaked me out too. Very gorilla looking like on the back. He did have the conical shape of the head, but it wasn't exaggerated like a lot of people talk about, how it kind of goes to a point like a football.
Yeah.
It wasn't that. It wasn't that dramatic, but it was there. It was conical shaped. And I was looking at him. I was like, what am I looking at? I said, I'm looking at, I was still, Sasquatch is not on my mind at all. Not on my mind at all. Completely off my radar. I said, this is a bear. I'm just looking at it, at a weird angle.
Right. And
all of a sudden this thing turns its head to the left just a little bit. And I remember catching a piece of the eye. The eye was solid black. The face, the side of his face, that was the blackest part of his face was as black as my headphones. Real leathery looking. I caught a piece of the nose, and I seen a side of his lip. And you got to remember, guys, I'm looking for a snout, for a bear snout.
Right.
There was no snout. And I started freaking out. I had a million things going on in my mind. Is this somebody playing a trick on me? There's nobody out here. Why would somebody be out this far doing this? It was just all these impossibilities I was thinking about, trying to make sense of what I was, the perception of what I was looking at.
Yeah.
And you're 30 miles away from any kind of like civilization.
Yep. And I'm probably 3/4 anywhere from a mile to 3/4 of a mile away from my truck too. So
it's not a place where people go to just to hang out.
Right. Someone would have to go through hell
to get up there.
Yeah.
To have a picnic. Yeah.
Yeah. It would have to be pre-planned, and it's one of them impossibilities. Nothing's impossible, but I was trying to make excuses for myself. What am I looking at? And I started getting really shaken up, and this thing I kept seeing his arm move up like this when he was digging in the ground, and on his forearm, you could see the ghillie suit hair coming off of his arm. He had that long hair on his forearm, just like a orangutan. Not quite as long though. So I don't know why I did it to this day. Everybody asked me why I did it. I just freaked out and I screamed at him. I just said, "Hey!" When I did that, he put his hands on the ground and he popped up onto 2 feet like it was nothing. Like it was nothing. This thing looked to me to be in between 8 to 1,200 pounds. He looked like a Brahma bull on 2 legs.
Huge.
Wow. You take a 400 pound regular guy. Okay. A guy that's obese, 400 or 500 pound guy sitting on the ground. In order for him to get to 2 legs, he's going to have to roll over, grab onto something, or be helped up. He popped onto 2 feet like that, like it was nothing. He starts walking in this oblong circle, and he's like scanning the woods. He's looking down towards my truck, north, looks my way, and then he screams. Scream that everybody talks about. It was like the difference between a lion, an elephant being next to a freight train, or maybe a speaker at a concert. You ever been close to a speaker at a concert?
Oh, yeah.
I felt that scream. I felt it. I could feel it like shaking. I could feel it shaking my body from that far off.
Wow.
So he's looking, he screamed and he turned around and he looked my way, but he didn't look at me, but his eyes got real big. And then, it was like he was confused. That's why I think I beat him there. I mean, that's speculation, but
Yeah.
I don't know what happened at this point. It's not really coming to me why he came to me, but I probably moved and he looked dead at me. And, you know, you look at the Freeman footage, you look at the Patterson Gimlin footage, it's always them they're walking away. They don't want to be seen.
Right.
It was reverse. He walked straight to me. Okay. This is where a little high strangeness is going to kick in. There's not a whole lot of high strangeness as far as paranormal in this, but unless there's some missing time I don't know about. So he starts walking to me, and this thing, the way he was walking to me was very weird. It wasn't a normal walk like the way we walk. It looked like the motion he was making with his arms, swinging his arms, looked to be like maybe he was on a pair of snow skis, just the motion, or like a elliptical machine. He's walking towards me, and this is 150 yards away, guys. This is a football field and a half away. I looked down at my gun. I unbolted it halfway just to make sure I didn't dummy up, make sure I had one in the chamber. Just halfway cocked it and slammed it back shut. He's 30 yards in front of me now.
Wow, he cruised over there.
4 seconds, 5 seconds. That's given a lot of time.
And that shows you how tall he was too. That he can cover that kind of ground in a very short amount of time.
Yes. So this thing, he's 30 yards in front of me now. So I put him back in the scope, and he just looked like a big old black blur. So I powered my scope back down, to the correct yardage, and I was on him pretty good, and I looked, and that's when I got to see him really good. The eyes were solid black, like a shark's eyes, but not round, no, more like a almond shape. He had to pronounce brow ridge. Man, I wish I would have sent you. Sibylla Irwin did a sketch for him. I've got a couple sketches of him. I should have sent them to you. I'll send them to you later or whatever. I should have did that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man, he looked very confused, almost like he didn't know what he was looking at. Very, very curious, but more. It was the look was very strange. It was confused. Didn't know what he was looking at, but kind of like disgusted looking too. Like he was disgusted about something.
So he was making like facial expressions, like
yes.
You can see an expression.
Yes. This wasn't no stupid animal. This was a thinking being.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the image that you were talking about from Sibylla, I believe.
Yes.
This is the one that you sent me, at least.
That's the one I sent you. Okay. Yeah. That is a AI recreated.
Mm-hmm.
I had somebody else do that for me. That is not Sibylla's sketch, but that is a good sketch. That is very, very close. The only thing I would say that is off on that is he didn't have as much hair on the cheeks like that.
Okay.
And that would make sense too, because when you saw the side of his face, that would have, you would have noticed that as well. And for everyone listening at home, we're looking at a AI image of the face that's similar to the Bigfoot that Mike saw.
Yes.
This sketch or this image is also available on the website. If you log on to the community and join the community, you can see that image as well. But this alone is just incredible.
Yeah, the brow ridge that's dead on. You hear some people that see these things, they say the hair on top of the heads, they got long hair. He didn't have that. He had short, spiky hair.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're just like people. I think they're all different. I think there's different races. I think they're like us.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Yep.
So this thing is walking towards you. You power down your scope. You're staring at this thing through your scope. What is going through your mind at this point as you're staring at this Bigfoot through your scope?
Sasquatch is still not on my mind. I thought it was some kind of demon or some kind of monster. I thought like a test from God or something.
Right.
So he would make a certain facial expression, or he would shuffle a certain way, and I would go to draw down on him. I had the scope on him the whole time. But when I say draw down on him, get ready to act like I'm going to shoot him.
Right.
He would turn his head to the side like this. And one eye would be looking at, I've tried to do this a million times. One eye would be looking dead at the ground and the other one would be looking directly at me. And he was giving me the look like, don't you do it. You're not going to shoot me with that gun. That's what I think these things know what guns are for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sure they've heard them as well. So yeah, they should know. I mean, so he gave you a look, kind of just like a, like don't you do it kind of look.
Yeah, like don't you do it.
Wow.
You're not going to use that bad boom stick thing. Yeah.
And is he by a tree? Is he kind of like out in the forest where there's nothing blocking him? I mean, how does that look?
He is, at this time, he has stepped in on my side of the power lines, and he's probably about 10 yards, off the power line, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just 5 yards.
Yeah.
But he's right where the cut of the power line is, and the woods start. That's where he's at, and he's straight out in front of me to my left, just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
To my left, like closer to the field. And right behind him was a huge dogwood tree. He stepped back a couple times and there was a branch that come off of this dogwood tree. And he would move his head around it. It was weird. It's like he would just say, this is the branch. He would do this and he would do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back to that spot, sometime later to retrieve my stuff, a year after this happened, and that branch is easy 8 foot.
Wow.
So he was at least 8 foot. He was maybe a little more.
Yeah.
There was a time when he did like a yawn thing. It was really quick. It was like, and he just did like a big yawn, and I got to see all his teeth. His teeth. It was very quick though. He didn't just keep his mouth wide open for me. He just kind of thing he did.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't make that noise, but he did like a yawn.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I got to see his teeth. His teeth were huge. His mouth was huge, not big lips at all. No, his lips were not that big, just his mouth. You could put a whole cantaloupe in his mouth, maybe even a small little seedless watermelon you could put in his mouth.
Wow.
His teeth were like ours. There was no canines. I didn't see any canines or nothing like that. I have heard reports where they do have them.
Mm-hmm.
But he did not have them. They were just big white square chiclet teeth like ours, just much wider, like kind of like horse's teeth, but even wider and thicker than that.
Wow.
This guy was built. He was really big. Barrel chested. I didn't see any genitalia or anything like that. Not that I was looking or anything like that. Everything there's a lot of stuff that happened in a short amount of time.
You're staring at his face and you're staring at his movements because you're fearing for your life, or you're kind of seeing, what is this guy doing?
Yeah.
It's not like an investigation where you're like, let me check out the length of his hair. Let me check out the genitalia.
Right.
At this point, you're just like, who are you? What are you? And what do you want?
Yeah. And I was talking to him a little bit too. When he would move a certain way, I just kept going, no. I was doing that. I'm pretty sure I was in shock. I was just in survival mode. It was weird because he would never get any closer than about 30 yards away, but he would never get further away. It was like he was standing his ground, but he wouldn't get any closer. And I don't know if it was because of the gun or what it was. There was a lot that happened in a short amount of time. Like I said, I would point my gun at him a couple times and he would turn his head. He did that. That probably happened 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
And, I got to thinking, this sun's going to go down and he's not going anywhere. Why isn't this thing just passing through and just, why won't it leave me alone? All this is going on in my head. And I'm thinking, this sun, when the sun goes down, I'm going to be in a pitch black, whatever this is, which at this time, I'm pretty sure I knew what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. I don't distinctively remember thinking, okay, this is a Sasquatch. This is what everybody's talking about. I don't remember thinking that, but I'm pretty sure I knew what it was at this moment of time.
Right.
And
either way, you don't want to be in the pitch black darkness with this thing still staring at you.
Right. His hands, I can remember his hands, like the palms of his hands went right past his palms hit his knees, but his fingers were long. Did you guys ever used to watch Finding Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Do you remember when they went to Nepal and they got to look at the Yeti hand?
Yeah, I've seen the Yeti hand. Yeah,
that's accurate. That's very accurate. Their fingers are that long. Just the circumference of his fingers were huge, man. They were like small little bananas. You know,
wow.
You see these tree breaks and stuff that people are reporting, like these impossible tree breaks. I know why, because their hands are just that big and that powerful.
It's got a huge grip.
I can remember seeing his fingernails. His fingernails were jacked up. He didn't have long fingernails, but looked like somebody, like, you ever seen somebody that's in like heavy construction, like their fingertips are nothing but calluses and just nails are all jacked up. And he also, if you look at your fingernail, you know how you look at your fingernail and you have the little white moons in there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He had them. He had the white moons in his fingernails, and the meat in his fingernails was like dark purple. I remember seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember any people always ask me, did you smell anything? I don't remember a smell.
When you're seeing him, Mike, is there any sunlight on him? Like, does it help with your ability to see him clearer? Or is he still shadowed or just so dark?
No, he wasn't shadowed. The sun wasn't shining on him at this. I mean, it was still daylight, but the sun was, past the trees a little bit. I mean, it has not set yet, but any minute, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it's going to set.
Oh my God.
And I had to make it. I got to get a drink of water for this part. I get nervous talking about this.
Yeah, take your time, man. Take your time. Are you looking to jumpstart your small business? Then check out PowerBrandSystems. They offer one platform that centralizes all of your social media interactions and pulls together all your reviews from either Facebook or Google. They even have plans in which they will handle all of your social media interactions to help boost your small business into the future. Guys, if you're looking to propel your small business, please check out PowerBrandSystems. Use the referral code in the description below when making your first purchase of PowerBrandSystems. And on top of that, use promo code 300POWER to save up to $300 on your first purchase of PowerBrandSystems. Propel your small business today.
It got to be to where I had to make a choice. And, I thought I was going to have to kill this thing to get out.
Yeah.
And I said, I got to do it. I got to do something now because I got to get out of here. I'm going home tonight. I don't know what, I'm thinking, I don't know what this is, but I'm pretty sure I knew what it was at the time. It just, the shock value, I just don't remember all that. So I put the gun back on him one more time. I drew down on him and he did not turn his head this time. He just looked at me like a confused child almost, like, and I put the X right between his eyes and I moved up a little bit. I put it like right on top of his forehead. And, I went to take the shot and I exhaled and I went to squeeze off on him and I got about halfway. How my gun to this day did not go off, I don't know. I got about halfway through the squeeze and I couldn't do it. He looked too human in the face for me to put. I felt that if I did this, that I was killing somebody. This is some kind of people that we're not being told about. What's going to happen? I mean, as close as I was in the gun that I had, I could have probably blew the top of his head off. No doubt about it. I couldn't do it. Couldn't. And, I was thinking if I kill this thing and I go get a game warden or some kind of authority figure, is this murder?
Right.
Am I going to go to jail for the rest of my life? Is this, is it a homicide?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just looking at this image, I mean, I know personally, I would have second guesses on, is this a human being? Is this a person? What am I looking at? And then, yeah, the idea is if I take this shot and it ends up being a man, is this going to be a homicide?
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't want to ruin your life because of something like that.
That's exactly right.
I mean, imagine if you squeeze that trigger and then you find out, oh, that's, so and so who lives out in the woods by himself. Then you're like, oh my God, what have I done? So yeah, I mean, I can easily understand, why you'd have the hesitation to not pull the trigger.
And there's so many factors involved too, because you're talking about, this being walking over to you, this being making facial expressions. It has hands, fingers. It's something that you have to second guess at the highest level.
Yeah.
Because you're in full control at that point to do what you want to do, and to restrain yourself at that point is commendable, because
absolutely,
you really value life, I can tell. And at that point, if I'm up in that tree, well, you never know what's going to happen. Yeah, because you're really you don't know what that is. And the thing with firearms is you have to be responsible at all times with those, and especially when you're up there and you're looking at this. But boy, I'm telling you, if I saw this in front of me like that, that would be really tough. So I don't know how you did it.
It was. Wow. And another thing, I can't really say he was posing that much of a threat to me. I mean, he was just basically looking at me, Yeah. It'd have been one thing if this thing was like, they say they throw stuff. I didn't get none of that. But if he was throwing stuff, or if he was banging on the tree trying to shake me out, or trying to get up there, or whatever to get me out, that's of course I would have shot him.
That's a whole different story. I mean, yeah, if he's trying to climb the tree, then yeah, you're going to be like, well, I have no choice now. Bam. But he's just standing there staring at you.
Just staring at me. And I just took the gun off of him and I set it and I tried it, on the side of the tree stand. And I stood up in the stand and I just put my hands out. And I yelled at him. I said, "What do you want?" Mm-hmm. When I did that, everything changed. Everything changed. He screamed again. And I hope that you or anybody in your audience never has to see how they scream, at least how he did it. And I got to see it from 90 feet away, 30 yards away. And it sounded like the same way on the power lines, but it was different. It was like a draw up. And, his hair on his shoulder stood up. And when he turned it loose, his eyes, his nose, his mouth, it looked like something out of a comic book, like a DC comic book. Mm-hmm. His eyes, his nose, and his mouth, everything shrinked in, protruded out about 11 or 12 inches, and it just looked like a bunch of flapping meat. And then when he was done screaming, it went back to normal. His face went back to normal.
Whoa.
The power from that scream, I could feel, when I was in Iraq, when a bomb would go off, okay? Say it's a mile away and you're good, but you can still feel the heat off of it. I could feel the heat off of his scream.
Wow.
It was very chaotic, very, very, very evil looking. I mean, it just looked like I'm going to try to explain this again. It's like his eyes, his nose, and his mouth. It's like his face crinkled up, went to one piece, protruded out, and just looked like a bunch of flapping roast beef.
Oh wow!
It was that pronounced and that ugly looking. He goes back down to all fours and jets across the power line. He's going to the west side of the power line. The way that he ran on all fours didn't look orthodox to me. It was super fast, but it did not look orthodox. It looked like, have you ever seen like a big dog run, like a Great Dane run? You know how it's kind of sloppy and lerpy looking?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looked like, but it was fast, man. He gets on the other side of the power lines. I can't see him. I start seeing gulberry bushes by the roots flying up over the trees onto the power line.
Mm-hmm.
He stands up. Now I can see him. I can see the shoulders up. He starts talking. This thing starts talking in that gibberish, that yeah. And after that, about every 10 to 15 seconds, he'd let loose that scream again. I did something that he did not like. He was pissed off at me for something.
Yeah, he didn't like that at all.
He was grabbing gulberries, ripping them out of the ground by the roots and chunking them out in the middle of power lines. It was unbelievable. At this time, I'm standing up in my stand with my gun like this. I said, this thing's going to kill me. It's 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 going to kill me. He starts going further north down the power line, but in the woods on the west side.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like a bulldozer going through the woods. And he's going, and he would disappear for a minute, and then I would see like a piece of his shoulder, then I'd see a piece of the top of his head, and I'm freaking out. But he's going further north. He's going away from me. So I can hear him crashing through there. I can't really see him anymore, but I know he's going north. And all of a sudden, I see it looked like a black flash go back across the power lines on my side, but further north from me. And he's crashing. And I keep saying to myself, you need to get out. You need to go to your truck. And, I keep psyching myself out. I'm like, no, I got to stay up. No, I got to get down. No, I got to stay up. No, I got to get down.
Well, the only advantage you really have at this point is that you're up in a tree.
That
is your advantage. So if you were on the ground, it'd be a totally different story again. But you're up in a tree. It seems like that's your only advantage that you have.
Oh, yeah. So this thing's, he's on my side of the power lines now, but he's going further north. I can still hear, bushes cracking way off and stuff. All of a sudden, everything gets dead quiet. I'm thinking to myself, where's he at? Should I get down? At this particular time, I can vaguely remember through the woods, I seen the sun, and it just looked like a tiny little orange ball on the halfway on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
It's about to set any minute, and I'm waiting. I'm trying to hear something. I'm freaking out. At this time, I'm talking to myself, and I'm talking loud. I got to get out of here. I was just in pure shock. Everything's quiet for about 2 minutes, and I stand up in my stand. I looked at my book bag. I said, I'm not worried about my book bag. And all of a sudden, about 200 yards, my side of the woods, I hear a fresh, pronounced tree break. That snap, crackle, pop, that cow. I judged the distance on it. It seemed to be about 200 yards away, but it was still loud. I said, I got to go. I go down my tree. I'm in one of them tree climbing stands. It's a 2-piece stand. You sit on the top platform, and the bottom platform, it's got like a little hoop where you put your feet, and you jack up the tree.
Okay.
And to get as high, I used to like to get pretty high, 30 foot, 35 foot, because deer hunting, it's good to get high. Kind of, you can see better. You get out of the deer's peripheral better when you're higher, and your smell, isn't it? Your smell is hidden better when the higher you are up. It used to take me about, I don't know, anywhere from 20 to 22 jacks to get up about 30 foot. I was down in 10. I slid down that tree. I left my book bag up there. Hundreds of dollars worth of hunting equipment up there. I had a GPS. I had a $1,200 GPS in my bag. I didn't care.
Yeah.
I come down that tree. I'm running through the woods. I hit the power lines. And the second I stepped on the power lines, it's like he knew I got out of my stand. He vocalized loud, it wasn't like the scream. It wasn't like the screams that I heard on the power line or close to him. It was a roar. It was just, It was terrifying. They did cut the power lines that year, so the power lines was kind of like a football field. You know, it was real short.
Mm-hmm.
I'm running down this power line for my life. I'm going south towards my truck. I can't even see my truck yet, you know, because there's hills on the power lines and stuff. I'm running, and he roared again. And I looked behind me. He sounded to be right behind me, but it was just an echo.
Yeah.
I look behind me. I don't see him. I keep running. I'm running. And I was out of shape that year, guys. I was a little heavier that year. So, you know, after about 100 yards, I got whooped, even pure adrenaline.
Oh, yeah.
So a fast run goes to a very fast walk. I'm walking down these power lines, and about every 30 seconds, he would sound off back there. And man, I'm just, man, I got to make it to my truck. I got to make it to my truck. Got to make it to my truck. On this power line, there's this weird growth that used to be there. It came out of the east side. It was like a little plateau. It wasn't very big. It was about yay high, and it only went about halfway across the power line, and it just had like a bunch of little pine tree saplings on it. It was just, but I always used that for a marker back in the day because, you know, I would say I'm either halfway to my truck or I'm halfway to my tree stand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was a marker. For some reason, I thought I had to make it to the, you know, if I can just make it to that plateau, I'm going to be fine. Why I thought that, I don't know. So I'm running again. You know, I would walk fast and I'd pick my run back up, walk fast. And he roared again. And then I stopped. I stopped dead in my tracks. And as soon as I stopped dead in my tracks, now something about 40 foot in the woods next to me stops. It's like I stop and I hear doo-doosh on the side of me. And then he sounds off back there again. So I thought it was him. I thought he caught up to me, you know, just through the woods.
Yeah.
I hear doo-doosh next to me. And then he sounds off again. And I didn't pay it no mind. So I I picked up, started walking again. And whatever this is now on the side of me is matching me step for step. I thought it was game, you know, another deer or a hog or doing the same thing I was doing, getting away from this thing. And yeah, it was very weird. You know, I'd walk and I'd stop to listen, and then I would hear it stop. But I knew it was something on the side of me because it would take that one extra step.
Mm-hmm.
So I would walk, stop, it would stop. I'd start walking again. It was matching me step for step, step for step, step for step.
Wow.
Like, this is weird, you know? So I see the plateau coming up, this plateau coming up. It's probably about a good 200 yards away. I said, you know, and I just had it in my mind for some reason, if I make it to this plateau, I'm going to be fine. So I seen it coming up and I start running for this plateau.
Mm-hmm.
I'm running. And this thing is just, whatever this is on the side of me, now it seems like it's closing in on me a little bit. It's getting closer and closer and closer. And the way the woods are shaped when this plateau comes out, it's going to have to reveal itself, or it's going to have to go deeper in the woods. You know, I was thinking I thought it was a deer or something. You know, I'm going to see a deer here in a minute, you know. And it got dramatic, man. Plateau's coming up. I'm running. This thing is just closing in. He's roaring back there still. And I'm running. This thing's just right on the side of me. I mean, it got ridiculous to where I can see the bushes moving, but I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it yet. And I just had enough, man. And I just cracked a shot in the air.
Yeah.
Cacao. When I did that, I'm now at the plateau and everything stops. Everything stops. I cross the plateau and there's this huge hill on the power line that you have to crest. You know, it's not 12 pitch straight up, but it's, you know, it's pretty steep.
Still,
Yeah.
And you're already winded.
Yeah, I'm already winded.
Oh yeah.
So I cross this plateau and I'm making my way up this hill now, and nothing, I don't hear him back there anymore. Whatever this was on the side of me, I don't hear it anymore. It's just dead quiet. The sun at this time, the sun is done set. Probably as soon as I got out of my stand. So I'm in nautical twilight. I can still see, but it's getting dark.
Yeah.
I crest this hill and I seen my truck down there, still way down there, still good 300 yards down there. I seen my truck and all I can see was just the roof of my truck. I couldn't even see the tires and stuff yet, but I can see the roof of my truck down there. When I seen my truck, man, I caught another gear I didn't know I had. I was to my truck in no time. No time. I see my truck coming up, and I was thinking to myself, you know, Mike, don't stick around. Don't let curiosity get the best of you. Get out of here. You need to go. You don't ever come back here again, kind of thing. You know, that was all going in my mind.
Yeah.
And I circled around, and as soon as I stuck my key in my truck, I heard one last scream, and it was way, 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 way back there, and it was way different than any of the other screams. It was like a panther, not a panther, more like it was like the sound of like a hyena screech.
Whoa.
Like, and at the end of the screech was like the crack of a whip, like pow, and it was way back there.
Whoa.
So I get in my truck, and this road that I come in on is a one vehicle road. In other words, if there's another vehicle that's coming down the road, you have to basically get in a ditch to let somebody pass.
Right.
This road makes a cul-de-sac. You know, you go down the road, you pass the power lines, you go west down the road, it makes a turnaround, and then you just pass back through. I wasn't passing back through. There was no way. There was no way. I backed up in a ditch and just about got my truck stuck. I mean, I was stuck. I backed up, I went up on the hill, and I got in a bad rut. And, you know, I was juking my wheel left and right, and, you know, kept going back and forth. And finally I slid out, man, and I got out. And I'm still in the middle of the management area, man. It's nothing but dirt roads, you know, single vehicle dirt road. And I'm probably doing 55, 60 mile an hour trying to get out of there.
Yeah.
Dirt road. I'm talking about
hitting every bump.
Every bump and every turn, the ass end of my truck's just slinging around, you know. There was a couple times I had to stop because I was like about to go into the pine trees. You know, I finally catch blacktop. I'm on Highway 26, and I just had my little old GMC hunting truck. You know, I had it down to the floor as fast as probably 85, 90 is all it would go. You know. Yeah, I got the pedal to the metal. And I caught Highway 15 back to the coast where I live. What used to take me about an hour and 15 minutes to get to, took me 45 minutes to get home. I live in a city, guys. I live in Biloxi, Mississippi. It's a casino town. I live in a neighborhood, you know, neighbors out the ass. It was probably about give or take, probably around 7 o'clock when I got home, somewhere around in there. And I pulled in my yard. I didn't even pull in the driveway. I just pulled in my yard. People are probably looking at me funny and stuff. And I'm psyching myself to get out the truck.
Oh, shit.
So, and I'm in a neighborhood, street lights everywhere, you know, people outside talking. I'm psyching myself to get out the truck. And I finally got out the truck. And I went inside, and I can remember just taking my gun and putting it on my bed, peeling my hunting clothes off, and I went. This is wintertime now, guys. It's in the 30s outside.
Right.
I went to the shower, put it on full blast cold, got in there and just laid in the fetal position for about an hour. You know, just trying to make sense of what happened to me.
Just trying to process.
And that adrenaline dump, you know,
yeah,
that happened. And I can just remember putting some shorts on and passing out on the couch. And I slept. And I woke up the next day. It was probably, I slept a long time, man. Probably about 10 a.m. I got up, and I thought everything was, I remembered everything, but I thought it was possible that I just had a bad dream. And I walked to my bedroom. I seen my gun on the bed. I was like, that happened.
Yeah.
That happened.
Wow.
For the longest time after that, I couldn't, I turned into I was already pretty much a recluse before that happened, because my mother had just died and I was going through a bad divorce. So, the woods was my sanctuary. That was my friend.
Right.
I hunted every day. It got bad after that, guys. I ended up losing my job. I wouldn't go to work. The PTSD from it did me in. I mean, it was PTSD on top of PTSD. I already had it from the Army. Yeah, these things are real.
Wow. That's the craziest encounter. I know that before I go any further, I want to say thank you for the time you served in the military.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's a huge honor. Our father was in the Navy, so we definitely appreciate that at the highest level. So again, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
The whole encounter is the running, the visual of it. It is probably the most intense thing I've ever heard in regards to seeing a Bigfoot. And when I first heard your story, I instantly sent it to Andre, and I was like, you need to listen to this. Listen to this story. Listen to this encounter. And we both were just shocked. I mean, it is just something that it's like, you can't believe it. It's like, wow. And to hear it, coming from you it's remarkable. It's frightening. I'm sure that you were scared for your life.
Yeah. There's a few things I would like to touch on. The first thing I want to tell you guys is they've always been around me. I just didn't know it. The tree knocks. Let's go with tree knocks. I've heard them my whole life. I would usually hear tree knocks either right before the sun came up or as it was going down, or sometimes right in the middle of the day. And I would be in a remote area, and I was really bad back in them days at just pawning things off as nothing. When I would hear the tree knocks, I would think, well, maybe that's another hunter in the woods trying to get up the tree like I am, or maybe I'm closer to somebody's property than I think I am. There was one time I was hunting in Louisiana. This was many, many years before my encounter. I was hunting in Louisiana. I was just in one of the little box stands, just little step ladder, probably about 5 foot off the ground. And then it's just a boxed in stand, it's got a little window kind of thing. And I was next to a swamp, and I kept hearing and I was in a very remote area too, where this place, this particular leash, you had to get there by boat. It wasn't accessible.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't ground accessible. And I got dropped off in this place. So it was just me in this place. And, I knew my buddy, he was hunting in another spot, probably about 5 miles down the river. And so I was in no man's land, and I heard there was two instances where it sounded like kids playing, like little children laughing and playing. And I knew where I was at. There was no kind of civilization around. So, I actually got out of my box stand and I walked over to where I heard it, and there was just nothing there. And there was same spot. Another time I had just killed a deer, and I went to go retrieve the deer and put him on my deer cart. And when I got to the deer, probably about 100 yards through the swamp, it sounded to me like a newborn baby crying. I've heard that before. Just couldn't make any sense of it. There's things out there that you just can't. I had a deer stolen from me one time, long time ago. I talked about that on the Sibylla show. About 10 years before my encounter, I killed a nice deer very close to me, about 70 yards away. And I called my brother up. It was a deer that we was after. We basically watched this deer get big, we'd been watching this deer for a couple of years on camera, and, I killed him. I watched him kick himself limp,
Right.
eyes wide open. I was looking at him for 30 minutes through the scope. I called my little brother and I said, look, man, I don't have a cart. You're going to have to come in here and help me drag this thing out. So I get down my tree, and, when I get down my tree, I have to face the tree. So I was not facing the deer, but I was coming down the tree, and I got to the deer, and it was gone, like gone. There was just a huge big pile of blood from his heart where he laid there and died. We got a team out there of probably about 5 or 6 people, and we combed the area. There was not one speck of blood past that puddle of blood any direction.
Whoa.
It was like somebody put this thing, wrapped it up in plastic, and walked it out. Coincidence? I don't really believe in coincidence, but I don't know. Just one of them things you can't explain. And I did have one more thing happen to me. I just want to go ahead and mention it. I did have another encounter that I do believe to be an encounter. There was no visual. This was in Natchez, Mississippi. This was I was hunting right on the Mississippi River levee. I was in a bottom. This was another lease that we was hunting. We had a lot of nice deer on camera in there and stuff like that. This was 3 years after. This was actually last year. 3 years after my encounter. I went to Natchez to hunt this spot. My little brother was supposed to go with me, but he owns a vending machine business, and he couldn't. He had business stuff, so he couldn't go. And I really did not want to go by myself. And I'm still antsy about that. I don't get too far away from my truck anymore. But this particular spot that I was hunting wasn't 100 yards from my truck. It was just down a hill in a bottom, basically. And I got up the tree, and it was just like the first encounter. I got up there, the day before I went to this spot, all day long, there's deer everywhere eating and stuff like that. We had feeders out and stuff like that. Sorry about that. I dropped my mic.
That's okay.
Knocked it on the ground. Day before, deer everywhere, wildlife everywhere. I go down there, get up the tree, nothing. Not a thing. I hunted all the way to dark, and I lowered my crossbow down to the ground, and I started getting ready to jack down, and I heard a whistle, like a human whistle, like a, but nobody out there. Nothing's out there. I get an answer directly behind me. Same thing, right behind me. I said, this has got to be people. So somebody's in here on our lease. Somebody's poaching. Somebody's doing something. Yeah. But then again, it's remote. How are they getting out here? Kind of thing.
You have a crossbow at this point.
Had a crossbow, but I had a pistol in my backpack this time, which the 40 caliber, But anyways, and then I hear a tree knock in front of me. Doot 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 doot. Right behind me. Doot 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 doot. I'm educated now.
Yeah.
I've had 3 years to realize what these things are and what they do and stuff like that. So I said, oh, no, I'm not doing this again. So I start going down, my tree.
Yeah. Time to go.
And I'm in a bottom. Okay. A bottom, it's nothing but sticks everywhere and leaf litter everywhere. There's no way it ought to be quiet in a bottom. As soon as I put my foot down on the ground and crunched, the woods exploded. I had stuff running in front of me, stuff running towards my truck, stuff running behind me. Still to this day, I don't know if it was hogs or not, because I was in a hog infested area.
Okay.
So I go to make my way out of this bottom. My truck's just right up the hill there. It's right there. I make my way out of this bottom. I got my gun on my hip at this time.
Yeah.
I make a left to start making this hill, and I'm telling you, and it's pitch black dark. The only thing I got on is I got a light on my ball cap. That way I can see where I'm going. Yeah. I don't have like a huge light. I wish I'd had a huge light. But anyways, I go to make this left, and I get a grunt in front of me, like a in front of me, and it just takes off running. And still to this day, I don't know why I did it. It was very, very irresponsible what I did. I emptied the whole magazine into nothing. I reached in my book bag. I grabbed another magazine, slammed it back. I start making my way up this hill. I'm like, I'm getting out of here. I gave it a chance. I'm never getting back in the woods again, this kind of thing. Right. And I get all the way up to the hill, just about to my truck. And the same thing to my right, I get another grunt, and it just starts hauling ass away from me. Emptied my magazine again. Grabbed another magazine, slammed it in my pistol, got to my truck, and I drove out of there. I didn't drive like irresponsible. This place where I was at, I couldn't drive like I did the first time, or I'd have went down a hill and tumbled. That it was that kind of deal. But I got out of there and I got home, and I just got to thinking, could have been hogs. I didn't have a visual, but I don't know hogs that whistle and beat on trees.
Right. No, not at all. I mean, even the grunts.
Yeah.
If it would have heard you coming, I would imagine it would have took off. I mean, maybe it would have stayed to kind of defend its ground or to defend, itself. But I mean, there's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, plus you just went through a year ago that experience that you had.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely a little trauma there that you're like, I'm not going to do this again. We're not going to get caught in this situation. We're going to stay in front of it.
Well, to mention, you just emptied the clip like less than a few minutes ago. Mm-hmm. And then now when you get to the truck, there's another hog there. Like, no way.
Yeah.
If they heard you do that, they're going to bolt.
I've talked to some people, some people that's been in this field a long time, and they seem they said that behavior is juvenile behavior. Mm-hmm. Could have been juveniles. So, the year after my first encounter, that first year, I couldn't even look at the woods, man. My daughter lives out in the country a little bit, and I have to go see her because I have a grandson. But it was like I would get down them winding dirt roads, man, and just see the forest, man. And it was just like somebody was dumping a cold bucket of water over my head. It was bad. Wow. And the year after my first encounter, I did not hunt. That was 3 years later, what I just told you.
Yeah.
I tried to go that first year after that. Like, nobody can get me in the woods. And there was this one particular time where this dude had a shoot house. He had a little planted field right behind his house. I mean, like, you can get out the shoot box and run 50 steps and be at the back door, that kind of thing. Hunting a field right before dark. And I had somebody in there with me. We was going to tape it because he had a nice buck coming out there. Mm-hmm. And right as the sun started going down, I made excuses. I was like, man, I think I ate something bad. I got to get out of here, kind of thing. I didn't tell him I was scared, but I just couldn't handle it. My nerves could not handle it.
It was just too much.
Too much.
Wow.
Still to this day, I'll go in the woods. I don't like to go in the woods at night. And I do hunt a little bit, but I don't hunt all the way to dark anymore. Mm-hmm. I can't.
I would imagine that your time in the military served you well in terms of how you were able to keep your composure in the face of this Bigfoot. I mean, you were able to think about, do I need to shoot him? What is he doing? You were able to assess the situation. I think a lot of people would have just hit the panic button and would just start firing, but you didn't do that. And like Daniel said, I think that it speaks on the humanity of your own character. I mean, you saw this thing and you thought, if I shoot this, I'm killing a person. May it be a Bigfoot, may it be a man, and that's incredible. one of the things about your story that completely took me off guard when I first heard it was that, unlike every other story that I have heard, yours is the only story where you literally had the advantage over the Bigfoot. He did not know you were there, from what I can tell. And when you made that noise, hey, that was just like, for him or her, whatever it was, that was like a shocker. Just like, wait, what the heck? There's nobody here. What's going on? And so I've never heard a story where the human had the advantage over the Bigfoot, where usually they know where you're at. They know they're watching you.
Yeah.
And this time you were watching it. And that is just like the most mind-blowing part of the story for me. I mean, there's a lot of mind-blowing parts, but that part in particular, I thought, man, you were watching him. He didn't even know you were there. And the fact that it walked towards you makes you believe that he didn't know what he was looking at, because you're up in the tree stand, you're wearing camo. I think he was probably thinking, what is that? What is it? Is that a? And then he just came over, and then once he saw you, it makes me believe that there was another one nearby. Obviously, because of what you were saying on your account when you were trying to get back to your truck.
Yeah, I got my prediction. I think this is what I come up with. I think I was probably there before they got there, and maybe they didn't know I was there because Bigfoot wasn't on my radar. I wasn't thinking about Bigfoot or nothing like that. This is what I think happened. I think I was there. I just got lucky, luck of the draw kind of thing. I got there before they passed through. They were doing the same thing I was doing. They were hunting, and I made myself known. He didn't like it, but he probably knew he knew I had a gun, so he kept his distance, but he kept on me. I think whenever he yelled at me in my face and got on the other side of power lines, when he started talking, I think he was talking to the other one. Mm-hmm. And I think whenever I was going down the power lines, it possibly could have been the female leading me out. That's another prediction. But I will tell you this, guys. I definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, think I was spared. Because I think these things can work in groups.
Yeah.
Well, I think the shot that you took, when you shot in the air.
Yes.
I think that was probably the most important thing you did in that moment, because I felt like, based on your account, it felt as if it was closing in on you. Yeah. And once you fired that gun, I think she said, "Whoa," and she just stopped. Like, okay, he's still active. Like, he's still in defense mode. I'm just going to stay my ground and just stay here and let you go. And not to mention the final scream that you heard, as you were saying, it was more of a high pitch, kind of like a cat or a panther, and that may have been the female.
More like a shriek.
Yeah, it could have been her letting him know, like, he's gone or we're clear.
Yeah, could have been. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to take you back to when he was sitting on the ground, and I was still trying to figure out, what am I looking at here? So, I panned at his head. It looked gorilla on the top, but Sasquatch wasn't coming to me. I was still in the frame of mind. I'm looking at a bear here. I'm just at a weird angle. All right. What made the cheese slide off the cracker with me was he kind of bent down just a little bit, and I seen the hair on his back, and on the back of his neck, it kind of shot out like a porcupine a little bit. And I just seen how long it was. Yeah. And that sometime during that moment, it's like everything changed. I said, okay, I'm not looking at a bear here. What am I looking at?
Right.
And that's when I screamed, because it was just, at that point, I probably shouldn't have screamed, but it was just panic. And the difference between the fear of having something like that happen to you versus being at war or something like that, okay? you got a whole platoon with you. You know that it's war and you can die. Sure, it's scary, but it's not the same kind of fear. It's not that primal fear of having a Bigfoot encounter. It's different. It's way different.
Are you looking to jumpstart your small business? Then check out PowerBrandSystems. They offer one platform that centralizes all of your social media interactions and pulls together all your reviews from either Facebook or Google. They even have plans in which they will handle all of your social media interactions to help boost your small business into the future. Guys, if you're looking to propel your small business, please check out PowerBrandSystems. Use the referral code in the description below when making your first purchase of PowerBrandSystems. And on top of that, use promo code 300POWER to save up to $300 on your first purchase of PowerBrandSystems. Propel your small business today.
It's way, way different.
And you were by yourself. I mean, if you were there with the platoon, then you can communicate like, hey, I got something right here. Do you guys see it? But you're by yourself. You're like, how do I handle this? How do I get through this? And I think that you yelling out to it, I mean, what are the choices you have? You either do that, you shoot it, or you climb down and try and get out of there as fast as you can. So it's like, what is the safer of all of them? It's the shout is the shout at it.
Hey man, and I don't know how many were there.
Yeah.
I know probably there was 2, but there could have been more. What if I would have took the shot and tried to get out of there and got ripped to pieces?
Right.
It's just, yeah.
When you said it was sitting down, there's a couple of things that come to my vision, because when I listen to these encounters, I always try to envision what is happening, which is great because the way you are able to tell us your encounter, it really helps with the vision of it, because I've never seen anything like this, And so when you say it was sitting down, was it like squatting, like it was? No, it was like sitting like with his legs crossed, or
nope. His knees
on
were
his knees.
He was sitting on his butt just like a human, and his knees were they weren't like up high, but they were, they were out a little bit. And I don't, another thing that's very strange about this during this whole encounter, maybe it'll come back to me one day, because bits and pieces do come back, throughout time. Certain little things, it's the story's the same, but sometimes there's a few things that, you pick up throughout the years. I don't remember seeing his feet. Not that I was looking,
right?
But that didn't stick out to me for some reason, even when he was running on all fours.
Yeah.
I mean, of course he had feet, but I just don't remember saying, oh man, that's a big foot,
Well, yeah.
When he was on all fours, running around on fours, we've all seen like chimpanzees do it, gorillas do it, where their legs are shorter than their arms. So they're kind of propped up in a way as they're running around. Did this one have more of like a straight back kind of running through the woods type thing?
Very, very long back. Very, very long back.
Mm-hmm.
It all happened so fast. And like I said, when he ran off on all fours, it didn't look right. It didn't look orthodox to me. But some people say that they're better on all fours. To me, it looked like it was fast now. It was like Exorcist, robotic kind of, weird looking thing. But it was it just happened so fast, and it just did not look orthodox to me.
Right.
There's characteristics of your story that are similar things from other stories that I've heard. Obviously the screams, the thrashing, whenever they're trying to assert their territory, it's kind of a thrashing movement. They're running around. It's similar to like what gorillas do. When it was tracking you, trying to match you step for step, I've heard that before from other people with encounters that it'll try and match their step. And then if they change, the rhythm of their step, they can hear it go, take that extra step. And with you, because of your hurried pace, it would be easy to throw it off track because you're going at such a fast pace that if you just all of a sudden stopped, it would go, it would stop too. But it would be a second later. The shrieking scream is something that we've heard that the females make. And really, I feel like when you stood up and said, "What do you want?" I think, in my opinion, I think the Bigfoot felt like that was you screaming, kind of roaring at it. So then it felt like, okay, well, then if you're going to do that, then I'm going to do the same thing. And this is my territory,
Yeah,
just
I think
incredible, dude.
I think it didn't like me talking to it like in a loud tone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because there was a few times that I was saying stuff to him. I can't remember everything because, like I said, I'm pretty sure I was in shock, but I can remember like when he scooted like behind that tree a little bit. I kept going, no, 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 no. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? That kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, I was pretty vocal the whole time, but there was 2 times when I got loud with him, and that last time I just said, "What do you want?"
Right.
And I think he took that as a threat.
Yeah.
And then you'd mentioned that you heard his talking. You said it sounded like the Sierra sound. So I mean,
a little bit, not exactly, but just kind of like that, kind of thing.
So I'm going to play a little bit of that right now, and you let me know if it's similar to it. Here we go.
Okay.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Was it anything like that? Like that?
Little bit similar to it, man. God, I wish I could tell you the countless hours that I've listened to the Sierra sounds. I'm very good friends with Mr. Ron Moorhead. Actually, he's got a new book out that's awesome.
Yep.
But I've listened to it for hours and hours. It's similar, but it's different. It was different too. It almost sounded like he's got like these things. The way they talk, it's kind of like that. It's weird. It's almost like they got like especially if you listen to the Sierra sounds real good, turn it up and listen to it over. It's almost like they have like a double set of vocal cords.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strange, but it's very demonic. So that it's weird. My buddy Kerry Arnold, he passed last September. I don't know if you guys ever heard his encounter before, the Kerry Arnold story.
I have
not.
Yeah. So where I had my encounter is exactly as the crow flies, about 35 to 40 miles away from where he had his. And there was a lot of similarities. If you listen to it, he had one open his mouth up to him, but his stuck his tongue out real far, like he was like almost like tasting the air. There's a lot of similarities.
Wow. Yeah, I've not heard that encounter before. I definitely got to look it up. And just kind of doing a little research on like chimpanzees, and obviously we've all seen documentaries where you see the chimpanzees running through the woods, causing a ruckus, tearing branches off, and being loud, right? But there is something that I read where if a chimp or a gorilla shows their teeth, it's a sign of them not submitting but being comfortable.
Yeah, I was talking to Randy Harrington yesterday. Do you guys know Randy?
No.
He's from the Midwest. He's a real good researcher. But we was talking about the scream, how the face shrunk in and protruded out and all that. And he said howler monkeys are known for that. Their face looking deformed and stuff whenever they scream.
Yeah.
Maybe not to that extent, but it's pretty ugly.
Yeah, it was interesting when you explained that, because when I first envisioned it, I based on other encounters that you have talked on other podcasts, it's like I thought where like the face like shrunk back and like the mouth and the gums came out, but it was like inner gums, came out and showed teeth, but it sounds like it wasn't like that. It was more like the face just
the face
protruded.
Yeah, it looked like his face was melting.
Like the pure force of his scream was just forcing out his own flesh.
It was
as
so
he was screaming.
It was so powerful and so weird. Look, I don't know how he didn't knock his teeth out doing that.
Wow.
It was out there, man. And these things, the eyes on them. Well, I've heard people talk about seeing some that have like pretty pupils and stuff like that. He didn't have no pupils. His eyes were solid black, unless they're just so dark it just looks like that. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't see any pupils, unless that's something protective for the daytime. I don't know.
Did you see any white in his eyes at all?
No whites. It was like he had black marbles in his eyes, like
a shark.
Like a great white shark, except not round like that, just like an almond shape.
Right.
That's terrifying.
And the nose, they had a nose like us. It was hooded. If you bring that picture back up, the nose is like ours. It was just much wider. The bridge and the nostrils, and the nostrils were pretty straight down. They didn't flare out like that or nothing like a pig. Very, very, very similar. Yeah.
So the nostrils were that far out,
yeah.
Not like flared up like you said, but it was just wide.
Yeah. And this picture here, they did a good job with it. Like I said, the only thing I would fix on this is I would take the hair off the chin, take the hair off the cheeks, and maybe the eyes maybe just a little bit wider than that, but not. That's still a good picture.
Yeah. So it didn't have any hair on its cheeks or on its chin?
No.
So you were able to see like a high cheekbone on it or anything like that?
Yep.
Did it have a big chin, or was it kind of like?
It was a square chin.
Square chin, yeah.
It was a square chin. High cheekbones. It said, when I say human, they look human in the face. Yeah, but not really. To me, he looked to be more like Neanderthal looking, more caveman looking.
Mm-hmm.
But that pronounced brow ridge, I don't know. I wasn't looking at no ape. That's for sure. That thing was, I don't know. I don't know what they are. Some people, that's another argument. I think they're a human hybrid of some sort. If there's a missing link out there, that's got to be it. Where I'm at with other cryptids, I don't really know much about. You're getting a lot of talk about Dogman and stuff these days. I don't know if they're. I think Dogman, if they're real, it's hard to put them anywhere in biology. That I think Dogman would have to be. There's that's getting more into the supernatural realm there.
Yeah, I agree. I think Dogman is supernatural, and I think it's more on the evil side of the spectrum of things, where people are messing around with some sorcery stuff. Which is definitely outside my comfort zone.
Exactly.
I am more of a flesh and blood type of believer.
Yes.
When I hear about these encounters with Bigfoot, it just feels more real to me that way.
Yes.
And the way you've explained it, it really brings it home. For me itself, and I'm sure for a lot of the folks that are listening. I mean,
I gave up.
This is real.
I'm just getting my toes dipped back into the Bigfoot world. I gave up for about 3 months because it just got it got so bad with the woo and all that. It was like I couldn't go to any Bigfoot channel without just pure craziness. Even as far as people talking about, hey, these Bigfoot are walking through my wall. I taught a Bigfoot in my bathroom how to brush his teeth. And stuff like it just got.
Whoa!
It's a little too much.
Yeah,
a little too creative.
And what that does is that takes the dignity out of my encounter.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I agree with you that this is a flesh and blood creature.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's I think this creature thousands of years ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago, migrated probably from China or Siberia across the land bridge into North America, and I think it's been here ever since. And I think that they live all throughout the United States. I mean, we're talking about sightings everywhere from Florida to Oklahoma to New Jersey to California to Oregon, Colorado. I mean, these things are everywhere. And at the same time, they're nowhere because they have perfected the art of being deceptive and how to camouflage themselves from people seeing them.
Oh, absolutely. That the hair. Now, I can't bring this into my encounter because maybe it was there, but I just wasn't looking for it. But a lot of people say that the hair on these things is what makes these things. The translucent hair, they're able to kind of like a chameleon lizard. They can blend into their environment very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
they're so dark looking. I mean, obviously you hear encounters where their hair is red, white, brown. You saw one that had black hair. I mean, if you didn't see it on the power lines, okay, and it was 30 yards away from you and you're not even looking at that area, would you be able to even see it? Like, because it's so black.
Right.
I mean, it was just camo. It was just camo. It camos so well with the shadows in the woods, where it's just incredible how these Bigfoot can just do that. You know, I mean, it blows my mind.
It's something else, man. I'll tell you what, I've only been in this about 4 years now. Going back to Kerry Arnold right before he passed, I told him, I said, I think I want to help people. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I said, I want to have my own show, and people that's had encounters with these things like I did, they can come to my show and they can get it off their chest, and I'll just be a safe place for them. And he's like, yeah, that's a good idea. And my very first guest was Mr. Ron Moorhead.
That's awesome.
Sure was. And look, and what I'm proud about with that is I didn't have to go through anybody to get him.
Yeah.
I went straight to his website, went to his email, told him what was going on, and he said, sure.
Awesome.
Yep.
Wow.
What was his take on your story? Did he give you any feedback about what he thought about your encounter?
He said basically that he's glad I didn't take the shot, and that he thought I got spared for sure. Oh, he believed it. He vetted it out.
Oh, yeah.
No, I mean, this is, I would say your story is one of the most compelling stories I've ever heard in my life. And to be honest with you, I've always felt that, I mean, your story has literally reinvigorated my desire to explore Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, at one point, I was very skeptical about Bigfoot. UFOs, they exist. Aliens, I'm all about it. But Bigfoot, I used to tell Daniel, I don't know. I mean, I feel like we would have seen it by now.
Yeah.
I heard your story, and after that, I was hooked. I was like, this is
a lot
real.
of people think that the ETs and Bigfoot they interlink. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean that I don't know about, but I do believe that this is another primate, upright walking species that lives in North America, and
really throughout the world.
Throughout the world, yeah, but because they're so similar to human beings, the Homo sapiens, I think that they share that characteristic of, some are black, some are kind of reddish color, some are white, there's different shades of them. It could be just like there's different shades of human beings, and I think that that's something that is
now I do believe in the types. Now you have you have the type 1s and the type 2s. Type 1s being the patty type. I think mine was probably type 1, but you have the other ones that they actually call the wood booger. They're tall and stuff too, but they look a little bit different. They're more chimp looking in the face.
Yeah.
But got more of a gorilla look.
Like the skunk ape looks a lot like that.
Yeah, I think mine was type 1 patty type.
Wow.
Very, very much so.
Wow. And I think those are the big ones.
That's the big ones. Yes.
Those are the big boys.
Well, and another thing, Bigfoot is bigger in different areas where it needs more calories and stuff like that, which would be Pacific Northwest, Canada, Alaska, because of the climate in the wintertime. They got to eat more food,
and they have to stay warm, so they have to put on more weight and be more.
They get hulkish. You hear reports of 12-footers out there.
Yeah,
I don't need 12 foot. I don't even know where to put that.
Yeah, I mean, we talked to Yowie Dan from Australia, and over there he was talking about how they're skinnier and they're lanky, kind of long arms, but they're still big in the chest and all that. But they're just wide, but they're leaner, which would make sense because you're in a warmer, more humid climate year round. And so, I mean, it does get cold there, and don't get me wrong, but I think environment has a lot to do with how they develop.
Yeah. The environment, talking to Yowie Dan, because I asked him a lot of questions about the environment down there, because I've never been to Australia and probably never will. But he said that there's actually birds that whoop out there. Because I was asking him about, the sounds that the Yowie makes, and he's like, well, there's birds that whoop.
The barred owl whoops.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yep. No, it don't sound like the Sierra sounds though. It's
right.
More, it's not the whoop, like the Bigfoot. It's more like whoo 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 whoo.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Some people call that a whoop.
Mike, I want to thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your experience with us. Like I said before, I know it sounds funny, but like in my opinion, you were like the Bob Lazar of Bigfoot.
Oh man,
your story is the most compelling and just detailed story. And similar to Bob Lazar, your story hasn't changed from your account of the story and the way you told it today. It's the same story. There's no doubt in my mind that you saw a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And as we close things up, I just want to ask you, if you could go back to that day, what is one thing you would do differently than what you did?
If I can go, what would I have done? I don't think there's much I could have done different. If I can go back in time and know what happened to me and go back to that day, I probably wouldn't have went.
Straight up.
Yeah.
It's gonna stay home that day.
Yeah. Good day I don't think I'm gonna be hunting Leaf River anymore.
You know what, Mike? One thing I like to say though is that your encounter, and when I heard that, it really helped kind of spearhead what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
So by you telling us earlier that you want to create a forum for people to come talk to you about their encounters and kind of help them get it off their chest. What your encounter has done is really inspired kind of where we're at. So, tip my hat to you, and I appreciate that and your honesty about kind of what happened to you, man.
I appreciate it. I've been on a lot of shows, guys.
I'm sure.
Actually, this is the first time I've told it, and probably, the last thing I did was with Sibylla, and that was probably 4 or 5 months ago. So it's been a minute. I do have my own show. I did get it started back.
Tell everybody where they can find you and your content.
Yeah, man, it's Red Creek Research, all one word. Well, that Red Creek Research. That is, just type that in, you'll find me. I don't have a whole lot of content. I used to have plenty of it. Like I said, I almost got out of this. I was talked into staying, but I deleted all my content, which I will put back up because I still have it in my StreamYard library.
Yeah.
But I got, the Bigfoot world. I've met some of the best people I've ever met in my life in this world. But you have to watch it too. You got your crazies out there. You really do. And like you were saying, Daniel, I'm more on the flesh and blood side now. I don't get into, all the crazy paranormal stuff. There's a place for that, but it's not my place. Right. I believe in the truth, and there's a whole lot of different agendas out there that I just don't like to follow. But I'm back in now, and like I said, as far as the people in the Bigfoot world, of course, the good outweighs the bad, no doubt about it. I've met a lot of, like you guys. You guys are awesome. Yeah, I'm fixing to start back up, and I'm just doing encounters, guys. I do encounters.
Right. Awesome, man. We'll definitely follow you.
Mike, thank you so much for coming on here. You have a wonderful night and wonderful day.
All right,
and
man.
Like I said, man, thank you for coming on. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Andre and Daniel. I'll see you on the flip side.
All right. If you have a story that you would like to share with us on our podcast, please reach out to us at beyondxunknown@gmail.com. Paranormal, unexplained, UFO, or Bigfoot, reach out to us and share your story.
Ready to generate more leads from your website, Google, and your social channels without having to spend money on ads? Our platform provides you with an easy-to-use communication stream that sucks in free leads from your website, Google, Facebook, and Instagram, enabling you to reply and convert them into customers from your computer or from our mobile app. We'll even turn your inbound calls into text message conversations, so you'll never miss another lead again. Once you've converted a satisfied customer, you can shoot them a Google review request with a click of a button, which will explode your positive reviews and increase your position in search engines. The system will also pull new reviews from Google and Facebook right into your conversation stream, where you can read and reply. Jumpstart your business by getting started today.